SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. Man, that is beyond long.
Look at this. He's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome back, everybody, to the 2019 WGC-Mexico SmashFactor edition. I'm your host, Michael Ruvilo. You can catch me on Twitter at Michael Ruvilo. I'm here, as always, with my two other fellas, Bucks and Gup, and you can catch them on Twitter at BPSnow11 and at I am the Gup. Also, catch us as a group on Twitter at Gup's Corner, on Facebook at facebook.com/Gup's Corner, and on Instagram as well at Gup's Corner. Today, we are going to preview the show with a review of the Genesis Open. We're going to discuss this week's WGC tournament in WGC Mexico, Chapultepec. Then also, there's a reminder that there's a special offer for all of Gup's Corner members that if you get in right now with your price for a premium service, it is locked in for life, and I believe it is $69.99 a year. Or you could do the 2-year, which I believe is $129.99. So let's get in a quick couple of promotions to give a couple of shout-outs. The sponsor for the show is AmpCaddy, as always. So go to ampcaddy.com, use the promo code SMASH, and get your AmpCaddy for $89.99, which is a really good discount. As well, go to our affiliates page on our website at gupscorner.com. There you'll find FanShare Sports. Get the Pro Advantage at fansharesports.com and type in the promo code GUP, and you'll get 20% off all your subscriptions there. As well as go to fantasynational.com/GUP and use the tools that we use. Everybody's using them. They're making people lots of money. Go, please rate and review us on iTunes and like us on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube. If you left a review on iTunes, or you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you will be entered into a mega drawing with a prize pack that has items from Torrey Pines, the Honda Classic, the WGC Match Play, Valero, and a free 1-year membership to gupscorner.com. We will be doing the drawing on the eve of the Masters on 4/14, so April 14th. Bucks, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing awesome, man. I am doing great. I am so excited to have a week where it's on a single golf course and the weather doesn't look like an absolute shit show.
We haven't had one of those in a while, huh?
And the weather doesn't look like an
So how you doing over there, big guy?
Doing well. Kind of a crazy Monday for me at work and personal life, but life comes at you hard sometimes, but, got through today. The tournament was, we'll get into some of the details, but I was kind of glad that it ended and got it over with. I like these kind of tournaments this week. It's not the favorite talking point as far as in-depth analysis. It's, 70 of the best in the world. So it's really picking, fine lines between everybody on who you go with. But the tournament the last 2 years has been entertaining and been a good one to watch on TV. And then I'll be heading out to Honda next week. So I'm looking forward to getting this wrapped up and then to a 4-round, full field, one course, should be normal weather, East Coast starting time, normal tournament to start the year off next week.
That's exciting. I'm excited for you and all the others. There's going to be a couple of our guys there. I know that. So that's going to be really cool. So if you guys are there, stop by, share a couple, buy you a drink or say hi to them. But let's get into this week's review real quick of the Genesis Open. So let's do the good, bad, and ugly from the Genesis Open. Gup, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say the good was that it ended.
On Sunday, right?
That was probably the best part of the week for me. Tough Sunday all the way around. I bad for me was probably betting. The only good thing was that you just couldn't bet much. I heard there were some round three balls come open Sunday, but I was actually on a real golf course playing when those were coming about. But because of the start and stop and quick turnarounds and no restart, round 2 through 4, there was literally very little three balls, no matchups that I saw. You could do some live betting if you had like Bovada, or I'm sure if you're not in the US, you could do it, on those sites, but very little opportunity. Got crushed on Sunday with Adam Scott and among any other, but Adam Scott was our 2-star. Looked like he had a pretty good lead going in over Leishman. He loses. So everything that could go wrong happened Sunday. The ugly was definitely, the back 9 in general. Probably a common theme I know among a lot of people we talked to last night, especially in the slat, was a massive amount of losses, between when the leaders made the turn in the end. Personally dropped over 3,000 in profits in those 9 holes. So just a terrible ending. Couldn't predict, when they were going to turn and the weather and all that. So I just trashed this one away and move on from it and delete it from my memory, really. And next year I'll note that probably won't look at much information from this tournament because the way that it went about it, it's not going to be a normal, Genesis recap.
Right. Bucks, how about you, bud?
Yeah, overall, I had a solid week. I think my good would be the general player pool. I've been dabbling in doing some maxing out some entries in kind of like the $5, the 44, or stuff like that this year. Just testing it out because I want to start doing that more in like the majors where the prize pools are huge. And last year when I did it, it was kind of just throwing a dart at a dartboard. I didn't have any strategy behind it because I typically just do 3 to 5 lineups. So this year I'm deciding to kind of do a little bit of mix of both. And so I typically have my 3 to 5 lineups and something, and then I've been doing like 100 lineups. And so this past week, and from learning the last couple of weeks, I had my ownership more spread out. I didn't have anybody over like 40% owned. But my highest owned golfers were Kang, Hadwin, Adam Scott. So going into like the final round, I was top 10 in the 44, top 20 in the $5, top 20 in the $100, and just had massive green screens. But you had Hadwin shoot 77 the final round. Kang blew up the 3rd and 4th round. Adam Scott did his thing. And then I had 30% JT as well. And so JT was in lineups with all those guys, and him, and I had only 6% JB Holmes. So that swing there legitimately was like a $35,000 swing. So I had 6,000 entered, something like that, and got back 4 of it. So I'm perfectly happy with that. I mean, the good is I've had serious sweats 3 out of the 4 weeks I've decided to do this. So I know the process is good. I know the player pools have been good. It's just I'm close. So it's going to hit at some point in time, which is good. I've already gone through the bad. I would say the ugly was Jordan Spieth's final round. Obviously, everybody knows about it, but they didn't really show much of it because the coverage was all over the place. The weather changed everything up. But, I mean, he just looked god-awful, as did quite a few players, to be honest with you. But, man, did he crumble. And I had, I think, 10% Spieth last week, and so it really didn't bother me too much. But I'm not a huge Spieth fan, but it was anytime you see a guy like that who's starting to feel like you're making a comeback and then just fall off the face of the earth isn't something you want to watch. So overall, it's a good week, though. How about you, Ruvy?
I left for Mexico on Sunday, so I only got in the $3.20 max because I didn't one I have to do too much research.
Oh, that's right. How was your island?
I wasn't on an island. I was on close. But it was pretty fun, though. It was pretty fun. I'm a little sunburned, so I can't move back right now because my kids. Yeah, I'm a little sunburned. So
First world problems.
Yeah, it was. It was the whale watching part got to me. But I only had 20 lineups in the $3.20 max. So I know my dad asked me for some plays, so I gave him some plays, but I don't think he did really well. So I was actually glad I didn't get to enter more. So it was, besides that was a bad. The good was probably my one and dones. I have 2 now in the top 55 of the one and done on Gov's Corner. So Leishman coming alive moved me up pretty good because no one won in the one and done except 2 people I think had JB. So and then I had Rom, and then the one with us actually X backdoored 100K there. That was a little that was a backdoor 100K in the one and done there. I wasn't feeling too good about him on Thursday when I looked up the scores, but that was about it for me. I didn't do much. So I think I had like 2 6s, so it wasn't really good. The bad was also my Rubies. That was the first bad week for the Rubies. They had a real bad week. So one made it, and the Cole beat all of them. So it wasn't great. But CT Pan didn't score. I saw it. He had like 6 birdies.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's such a bad putter that he hits a ton of fairways, ton of greens, and just he's your cut maker.
Yeah, he just hasn't been hitting the irons good. That's why I played him, but he found it a little bit better this week. So that's something to note going forward, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
The Listener League winner was a gentleman that we had. Victory Red 59 had 488 points. There was a guy that cashed in the Listener League, by the way, I saw. He had James Hahn in his lineup. So that was pretty good. He got like 7th. I think he got 7th with James Hahn in his lineup. Like, that's pretty good, man. The late withdrawal hurt him. But let's get straight into this week's course preview with the WGC-Mexico at Chapultepec. Bucks, take it away, bud.
Yeah, it's we get a cool little event here. So they've held it here the last few years at the Club de Golf Chapultepec out in near Mexico City. So they have this golf course, and you can check it out on the breakdown, but they have this golf course smack dab, it looks like, in the middle of the suburbs of Mexico City, like in the middle of the suburbs. Like there's nothing else around it, but it is 7,300 yards, 7,345 yards from the tips where they're playing it, par 71. The really important thing, and everybody's going to be mentioning it, but it needs to be discussed briefly, is that they are playing at close to 8,000 feet of elevation this week, which does affect the golf ball quite a bit. Ruvy, I know you play up in Colorado near Denver, so you're used to playing in some elevation.
Yeah, and I even saw the difference when I went down to elevation. I played in Mexico, and the difference was on my drives was probably 40 yards, and I don't hit the ball that long.
Exactly, yeah. And so, like, you get to a golf course that's at 8,000 feet almost of elevation, and the way that they break down the percentages, it comes out to 9.25% in added distance per club, basically, or you can take it off of the yardage. So it's really playing at 6,600 yards, and it's a huge difference. And what's interesting about it, though, is you have a golf course that is 6,600 yards basically, and the winning scores the last 2 years have been around 15 under. And there's been quite a few people over par. In fact, only I think 20 people have finished in double digits under par the last 2 years. And so you have a really short golf course, but it has teeth. And you can see that when you look at some of the pictures, when you look at the aerial views of the golf course, really tight fairways in general. But normally, even if you have tight fairways, you have some room in between the tree lines to work. And that's not really the case here. So you have 26-yard wide fairways here, but tree line to tree line is only about 45 yards, which is super narrow. I mean, like really, really narrow. Most golf courses you play on a regular basis will have fairways that are 45 plus yards wide. And that's not the case. Not only that, but you have fairly small greens, really, really undulating greens. You have thick Kikuyu rough. And you have some pretty weird bunker complexes that are well below the greens as well. So you have to be able to put the ball in play. You have to have a pretty solid short game as well. But yeah, this should be a really interesting golf tournament. And like I said earlier, I'm just excited to play DK on a week where I don't have to worry about weather and I don't have to worry about multiple courses.
Yeah, you just might have to worry about what they drink, right? The water.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we're not worried about weather, obviously, at this point. But let's get into the key stats we're looking at this week. Gup, what are you looking at?
Yeah, so I mean, this week's going to be – I mean, the stats are going to matter. The recent form is going to matter. Course history. But because there's such a tight field, we can kind of talk about it a little bit. You really I think this week more than any, and it'll be a hot topic in the Slack chat, I'm sure, is context selection and lineup construction, right? Because you can only slice and dice, especially in a tight field, top players. There's not going to be any wave advantage, AM, PM. They're all going to go off fairly quick within each other that you really have to dive, and then you're just going to take some chances or do some max entry stuff like Bucks mentioned earlier, where you're even playing field with whatever contest you're in and just throw some in there and hope you get the right combination with a few flyers. I am looking at it, obviously approach and ball striking virtually will be in there every week in some way, shape, or form. Good drives will be in there this week for what Bucks mentioned about, being able to, even if you miss a little bit, can you still get on and onto the green? DK points, obviously that's a lock in any kind of WGC or no cut event for me. I have a short game blend. Bucks write up talks about a lot of, the guys that do miss, you got to be able to get up and down or scramble. Mm-hmm. Proximity is in there just a little bit. It matters. The difficulty, and I'm going to try to do a few things with mine that I post is, you have to be careful to what Buck said. You can't just look at the course map and go look at proximity from a certain number because those numbers aren't going to correlate to where they're at this week because of the altitude type stuff. So be careful where you look at there. And then my secret sauce obviously is always in there. I'm bringing in, for sure, this will be the most I put recent form in. Having said that, this is one of those big weeks that you got to do your homework on the Euro guys. There's a lot of them that come over here, or not even Euro, but overseas in general because of the OWGR rankings. So big week, like my rankings will come out and Brooks will be terrible, which I'll get into in a little bit. And some of these Euro guys will, the guys that haven't played on PGA Tour or played here ever, just in a data-driven model like I do, they come out bad. But by Wednesday, I adjust for all that. We talk about it. We go on the chat and talk about it. I'm going to try to do a few different things this week with that. Course history, I only pulled in the last 2 years. I didn't pull in anything else because that's when it moved to the Mexico course from the Donald Trump. So that's all I looked at in my model, and that's all you'll see when the rankings come out. So that's kind of where I'm looking this week.
Bucks, how about you?
Yeah, so for me, and to touch on what Gup was mentioning about the proximity numbers, he's exactly right. So like I mentioned, not over 9% difference in how far you can hit a club. And just so you guys get a feel for what that actually means, a 315-yard drive, which most of these guys, well, not most of, but quite a few of the guys that are playing this week can hit at this elevation goes 345 yards. 170-yard 8-iron is going to go 185 yards. And Rory last year was talking about him hitting his 8-iron over 200 yards. And then a pitching wedge that you hit stock at 145 yards or so is going to go about 160. And so it's a massive difference. And while you have these guys that'll likely be coming in from 140 to 160 yards, something like that. They're going to be hitting a lot of wedges still. With that being said, I think that you have a strong correlation to keeping the ball in play. And so not only being accurate off the tee and looking at fairways gained or fairway hit percentage, but also looking at something like good drive percentage. So a good drive would be something where you either hit the fairway or you miss and still hit the green. And I think that's really important this week. Also, it's a no-cut event. So while the scores aren't crazy low here, you still have guys that have a higher propensity to score DraftKings points, like a guy like Tony Finau. He's historically finished really well in most events. Top 15 percentage is just off the charts from last year, but he was always top 3 or 4 in DraftKings points. And so that's really, really important this week. So for me, I'm looking at DK points. I'm looking at fairways gained. I'm looking at good drive percentage. And then what I'm going to be looking at as well is scrambling. These greens are pretty small. You have a lot of guys that are going to be playing at this altitude elevation than they're not used to it. So you'll see a higher percentage of greens missed. It's still pretty high, like that. Guys hit these greens at a pretty high clip because they're coming in with wedges. But overall, you have some uncertainty there. And so with the small greens, you want guys that can scramble well. And there's a strong correlation to putting inside 15 feet and finishing well on the leaderboard here. So I'll be looking at that as well.
I don't have a lot to add to that, except I do have a small weight on par 4 scoring. Just what I've seen over the past year from Fantasy National. So, but besides that, mine was very similar to a lot of combination of yours. It's just I probably weighted a little bit differently, but I'm going a little bit more stats this week driven on that part of it. I usually just go simple 4 to 5, but I'm going to go a little bit more this week and see how it does for me. So good luck to me, I guess. That's not going to work out too well. All righty. So let's get into this week's locks, flocks, and flops. The lock of the week, over 10K bucks. Who you got?
Yeah, for me, you know, this it's tough on this golf course, right? In this event, you have a small event. You have, I think, 28 of the top 30 guys in the world playing this event. And so you have a lot of guys that you can make a strong case for. I mean, Justin Thomas being 11-8 this week warrants probably that price with his course history, his recent form. Same with DJ. Rory, great driver of the golf ball, can likely take advantage. But the one guy that I'm going to be focused on is going to be Rahm. And so when I look at Rahm's stats, he is top 5 in the majority of my main categories. But I just think that, and I know he's already kind of won, but I think that he's really close to breaking out again. And he's been playing really well. He has his recent form is solid. He played well here last year, but he keeps it in play. He has a really solid, good drive percentage. He is top 5 in bogey avoidance, and he's second in DK points. And having that mix of a guy that can keep it in play, hits a ton of greens, but scores a lot of points, and his putting inside of 15 feet is solid. So Rahm is a guy that I really like here. You have so many solid options that I think ownership is going to be pretty spread out. I think you have guys that will play a ton of DJ, a ton of Rory every single week. And so Rahm, while I think he will be a little lower owned than those guys, you're still going to see probably 18 to 22% on him. But I do like Rahm this week.
Gop, how about you?
Yeah, so you can kind of go both ways here with ownership. Just to kind of follow up books right there is there's only so many guys, so you're going to have a higher tightness of ownership be a lot less. A lot more. So you're not going to have a big spread like you normally would, and especially, one of the first things I do in an event like this or the Augusta or Masters, we'll talk about this a lot, is, who can I eliminate immediately, right? And there's normally 10, 15 or more, depending on the tournament, that I want absolutely no part of. They're not even in my field. So then when you eliminate those, I try to look at the ownership just between those, and it gets even tighter. My model this week so far, I'm still trying to finish it up with some of the changes I made. JT, Rory, DJ, and Rom are 1 through 4, which I guess that bodes well as far as I think the model kind of is showing what I want. But the tightness between those 4 are all right there, and ownership could play into Bucks's point if you see a huge edge. I think in this day and age, we'll see that ownership is becoming a little bit too much impact to the way guys are looking at lineups and they're building and constructing. And especially if they're not factoring in the specific contests they're playing. So if you're playing a 3 max, whatever, $20, $50, I don't care what it is, and you're really trying to decipher who you pick between a 14% DJ and an 18% JT, you've missed the boat on the whole ownership deal. Ownership is not, a 4% advantage on a 3 max build like that with maybe 800 people in it or so. I can't remember what the 20 max is, or even I know the 100 max, some of those 1 to 3 inches are very tight. That's not what the ownership's for. It's more for down low, or you see maybe last week a Hadwin, for example, which I was on. I know others were, and he wound up being kind of high owned. And going into the weekend, he looked like he was going to return his value very easily. And then he must have started drinking Tito's early. But those spots are what ownership's for. Ownership projections and leverage is not. And you could be this week. So, and when I say that, so this week, if Rom was 9% and those other 3 I just mentioned were 20%, that's a huge advantage for the guys up top.
For sure.
Yeah, these elite guys can show up any given week. I've said that over and over and over, that, you almost, and I'm working on some stuff in the background to kind of illustrate this, but you can take X amount of guys and just throw everything out the window and go, any given week these guys can show up. So I know I'm kind of going off there, but there's so much this week that let's get back to the basics. And then as we roll into the Florida swing, it's even more important. And just listening to the community, the industry, the Slack and all that, it's important that we spend a little bit of time on that, especially for guys that aren't members yet. Hopefully you're thinking about joining. But one thing I had a lot of people compliment us on last week or last 2 weeks was, hey, if anything, you've added more volume to the pod, and 100%, we're not ever going to use this pod to, scapegoat it, move it out just so you come buy our stuff. That's not the point of why we have a member. We don't want people like that anyways. We want loyal guys in a great community that's building every day. This is to help you guys out there if that's just the way you want to do it. Long way around. Right now, my lock is going to be DJ. And I really like how he finished coming in strong. He's just he's so unpredictable. And I was with the guy when I saw that he was early. I knew he was going to be early, but when they actually went out, I was pissed because I was like, holy shit, he's going to go out there and be miserable, come in, then have to go back out. God knows when later, 8-9 hours later. And that's just not probably good for him. And because I made the flip from DJ to JT at the last minute. That was my last decision last week, and I talked about it in the chat. I literally had everything built. Now it was down to I'm going to fade one of these 2. It's just a strategy I had, and I chose wrong, which is fine. I'll move on and learn from it. But DJ finished strong that he just loves it. I mean, he's 7th in the first tier. I like everything that he's doing. I get a little bit of price discount, which is rare for him off of JT. So I'm going to go him, but I definitely doesn't mean I won't play the other guys, especially if I'm going to do an MME style.
Yeah, I think that I discussed it with a buddy already that the 4 guys you listed there, Gup, were if I had to put a gun to my head, pick 4 guys that one of them wins, it would be those 4 right now. I'm obviously a huge Rom fan, but I have Rahm out of those four probably ranked fourth right now for me. But I play Rahm every week. So, but my lock is going to be JT. I think that last year when JT lost in the playoff here at Mexico, he followed it up with a win the next week. And that's always, I'm reaching at straws maybe a little bit there, but I think that he lost in agonizing fashion, I think, in a way that he didn't want to lose to JB Holmes there. I think he comes back this week at a course that he loves, obviously. And I think he gets the win again this week if I had to pick right now. So JT would be my first that would be my lock of the week. Let's go to the core of the week, our flocks. So between 7K to 9,500, we're going to pick three of them. Guff, lead us off.
Yeah, I'll keep this one shorter. I know guys don't want to hear us ramble on, but my number one is Fleetwood. And I haven't been on him yet this year. I predict, especially at 8,200, that the chalk that I've been dodging all year is going to be there. But I've been dodging him all year for a reason, and it's paid off. He hasn't returned value, I don't think, very often. I like a lot of things about his situation this week. He's played here both years, a second in 2017 and a T14. So nothing I hate about him. I think if anybody, he's probably a little underpriced there, which I know that will probably scream chalk, but I love him. I haven't locked in yet because I was dealing with, like I said earlier, some stuff. But if he's still 40-1, which is what I showed when I pulled, he will probably be a bet for me. But I like him this week a lot, and I think he's ready to go. Another guy that I've kind of have been on this year, he hasn't played here yet. I hope he goes under the radar a little bit. But at 7,700, I like Billy Horschel. Stat model, recent form, doing well. He hasn't played the last 2 weeks, but I like where his game is overall, and I've liked it since late fall, moving on. Pretty much the last 12 months, I really like where he's moving on altogether. The last guy it's kind of a toss-up for me, but because of his price, even though last year he relied heavily on putting, I'm going to go RCB at 7,800. There's another guy I like that I'll talk about in our roundup, but he's fifth in my model. I do worry a little bit that last year was an anomaly because of the putting, so I'm going to do a little more diving in there. But even 2 years ago, when he didn't rely on the putting, he still finished T38, which doesn't sound great. But when you get a guaranteed 4 rounds, $7,800, stat-wise, he's sixth in my model. Maybe he likes putting this place, getting better at it. He's not a guy I won't ignore there. There's a close fourth, but I'll save him for a little bit later. But those are the three that I like right now.
Bucks, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a ton of guys that you could be on this week, and a ton of guys that make a lot of sense. And I personally love guys like Tiger. I think that Kuchar is insanely priced at $7,700. But the three that I would go right now as a core, and I'm going to start under like $8,500 just to start there, would be Webb Simpson. I think that his game suits this golf course. And I think that his putting and scrambling will keep him in play when he does miss the green. I think he's going to keep the ball in play off the tee. I think his iron game is strong. But I think that his bogey avoidance numbers, because of his scrambling and his putting, are off the charts. And so I really like Webb to have like 6 to 8 bogeys on the week and contend. So I really like Simpson this week. My second core is going to be Gary Woodland. I think that at $7,900, one of the best drivers of the golf ball out there. Really solid all-around game, ball striking, just stud. And his putting's been pretty good. And that's something he struggled with. But so far this year, he's top 40 inside 15 feet, which is pretty solid. So at $7,900, I love him. Also, it's no cut. Number one scorer this year, last 24 rounds in DK points. So I love him. And then the next guy, my last of my flocks, is going to be Charles Howell III. He is a great ball striker. He can hit the ball a mile when he needs to, but he keeps it in play. Short game's awesome. Been putting really well. I've been on him most of the year, and I really like him this week as well. So Simpson, Woodland, CH3, those would be my 3 cores.
All right, I'm going to keep it to 3 this time. So, all right. The first one that I really, really like after his finish, after he blew up to start the Genesis, is Xander. In a no-cut event, he is ranked 9th in my model last 24 rounds. I think that his game is in the best it's ever been, obviously. So he's playing great this year. And he had a bad first round and rebounded to, I think he got top like 16th, I think is where he got. So just a really good rebound there. I really like him coming in this week at 9,100. I will take the Xander. It was a toss up between him and another guy at that price. And I think I'm going to switch to Xander there. My next guy is Patrick Cantley. So I really like Cantley again. I know that another guy that kind of went under the radar, I'd say, at the Genesis. I don't know if they showed one of his shots. I didn't watch all weekend, obviously, but on Sunday, I don't think they showed one of his shots. He finished 16th also. So quietly did really well at the end of the tournament there. And then the last guy I'm going to go with, I'm hoping he goes a little unnoticed, but I doubt it because he has a really great course history here. I think he's been top 5 each of the last 2 years, which would be Tyrrell Hatton at 7,300. He likes the short courses, and I say that this is a short course because of the altitude. Yes. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bucks, but 6,600 would make it one of the shortest on the tour, right? If not the shortest.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that earlier. I was thinking like Pebble, the Heritage.
Yeah, Pebble, Heritage is what I was thinking also, and I don't know of any that are shorter than those, right?
Yeah, I mean that's really, really short. Yes.
Yep. So I think that, and he plays links courses really well, so he likes to club down, and I'm going to go with Tyrrell Hatton there as my third. Alrighty, so our flops of the week, 2 guys that stick out as potential guys that won't return their price value. So, Bucks, who you got?
Yeah, I thought a lot about this, and it's really difficult to single out a few guys without going down to like the 6K range. It's hard to single out a few guys because you qualified here for a reason. Right. So just in looking at past performance, looking at recent form, I would say, and this is no, I guess, surprise, but first guy would go is Spieth. I think at his price this week, at $8,800, I think there's a ton of other options around him, and I just can't see him getting it done this week. He has started hitting the ball better, but he's still struggling a little bit off the tee. You can tell he's not quite there yet. And so it's hard for me to believe that he can put 4 straight rounds together and keep up from a DK point perspective with guys that are around him like Matsuyama, Finau, Cantlay, Bubba. So I'm going to avoid Spieth. The other guy that I was looking at is a guy that a lot of people are talking about this week, a lot of people, and that's Ian Poulter. He has been solid ever since he had to make the finish top 5 or something last year. He's been pretty.
You got to win the Houston, right?
Yeah. So he's been solid since then, and he's been grinding it out. But for a guy that, again, a lot of people are talking about, and you have Woodland, RCB, Howe, Horschel, Kuchar all around him, I just don't see him paying off the way that those guys do, especially in, like we have been talking about, a 4-round no-cut event where DK points, albeit a tougher scoring course, you can still score points. And And so he's just not that guy for me. I mean, I don't view Ian Poulter as a DK scorer. So I'm going to avoid Spieth and Poulter.
And Gup, how about you, bud?
Yeah, the the first one was fairly easy for me, and it's Spieth. I think I say that, and he's not going to be a hard fade. So, if I come out to Wednesday night, just like last week, and he's going to be 5% owned for whatever reason, if I'm going to do a MME, am I going to have 8 to 10% of them just to do it? Sure, I'll do it. Doesn't mean I believe any stronger than I do now, but he technically still is classified in the elite class. I think a lot of people are reaching right now in the industry to say how close he is, or look at a lot of the grass is greener side and not the bad side. I just don't care who you are. The way he played Sunday, and it wasn't just Sunday. I mean, after the weekend, he for the second straight week kind of went sideways.
He had one good round.
Yeah, putters left him. I mean, anyway, I look at the last 4 tournaments he's played is a miscut, a T35, a T45, and a T51. His recent form and what I'm looking at is average for the field. And
you're paying $8,800
right,
for that.
Right. And if he's 8,000 this week, it's probably about where he should be priced, but no way they're going to do that. The one upside, if people are stretching for it, is he's played pretty well here. T14, T12, not, great by any means, but I bet last year he's probably 10,000 at this tournament. I haven't done that research yet, but
what could they possibly be looking at to price him at 8,800 and Kuchar at 77? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Course history.
Course history, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Sergio, right?
Yeah, especially with DraftKings. I like Sergio though, but we'll get there in a second.
I know, I do too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's why he's at 8,000 though.
Right.
Yeah, but you're looking at an event that has 72 golfers, and he's never had a top 10. I mean, it's not like it's off the charts.
Right.
There's only like 5 guys that have been top 15 consecutive years though, and Sergio and Spieth are one of them.
And
JT and Phil are like the other, and Hatton.
But Spieth, which I hope everybody turns the other way and he becomes kind of a chalky pick this week, which I will be off of him then. But I released my projections Wednesday and had him at 5 or 6% or so, and so I definitely would always take an elite talent, quote unquote, at that time. His tee to green game out here, he's been top 10 the last 2 years, so there's reasons to go there. I'm not ready to. And as Buck said, like if you're not hitting fairways here, it's not like you have a lot of wiggle room to make up. And the one thing I just don't like about him and altogether is like DJ started off like ass last week as well, but fought back, got it. Like he just, DGAF and can show up any day and come right back. And he did over the weekend, grinded out, got a top, 10, 9, 8, something like that. I don't know where it finished because everybody kept dropping, whereas Spieth didn't, right? He goes sideways and all of a sudden he looked like my scorecard, a quad, a triple, a double. I mean, it's a totally different floor to ceiling, and I'm just not on him. The next guy will probably be maybe contrarian, I don't know, but and this may be a hard fade, 0%, and it's Finau. 8,900. I just don't. A lot of people put him in this elite category, and I don't have him as an elite golfer right now. And elite to me isn't, let's go down 40. I mean, elite to me is, top 10, 15 golfers in the world, and I know he did well at the majors last year. I get it. And I know he showed up, but week in and week out, and then when in the stats that I'm looking at, the last 4, T13, a cut, T38, T15. So no top 10s in the last 4 out with a miscut. Last year here, he finished middle of the pack. I just, for whatever reason, I don't know if he just doesn't really engage until he gets closer to Augusta. Doesn't mean next week if he plays or the TPC or something like that, I'm all over him. My biggest hill there is I expect him because he's kind of a darling of the industry, and at 8,900, I expect him to be well owned and loaded up on, and I'll just pass on it and go somewhere else this week. So Finau is my second one.
My first one is actually, I thought, kind of easy for his price at 9,800, and that's Brooks Koepka. This is his first tournament on the PGA Tour this year. I don't think Brooks he could light it up and win it. I'm not going to pay 9,800 for Brooks on his first tournament of the year.
I'd bet him at 21-1 before I would pay 9,800.
I'm with you on that. I'm okay with betting him at that price because, yeah, he can go out and blitz the field, but I'd rather not pay the 9,800. And then my second one is probably another guy that is kind of polarizing, and this is just a pricing thing also with the amount of people around him. And it's Matthew Fitzpatrick at 7,600. If you can get guys like you said, Gup, with Horschel or RCB or Benny On, or drop down to Hatton here, or even Cam Smith, they're all around the same price as Fitzpatrick, and I get it that this course should fit Fitzpatrick because he's a short hitter, supposed to be a good iron player. But I thought Pebble Beach was supposed to fit him too, and he missed the cut there. So Fitzpatrick at 7,600 doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Or even, I didn't even mention Kuchar. I mean, you jump up a little bit to Kuchar. I know you would like that, Buck. So I don't understand the 7,600 for Fitzpatrick. So that would be completely off for me. How about your?
I feel like between, like one of the old school MTV celebrity wrestling matches or something, I feel like the Fitzpatrick, Sneds win. There's a battle there.
I haven't come out the Fitzpatrick hate hasn't come out on Twitter. That's more like the private between us. I don't mind the guy. I just think that everybody thinks he's like this good player, and he's not.
No, I'm looking forward to. I've got plans to meet up with Baroff next week and respect him. And
I love Baroff. Yeah, me and Baroff talk.
Yeah, I talk to him all the time, and I'm going to meet him next week for the first time, so I'm excited about it. And that's his boy, so I will target him this week to find him a head-to-head because he'll take it. But and that's fun. We all have our guy that we love, no matter what.
Dude, I'm the guy that likes JJ Spawn. He's not even good.
Exactly. So it's just funny with everything that's gone on, and I agree with you on Fitzpatrick, but I thought it was funny hearing that.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this one was strictly because if Fitzpatrick was at 6,800, I think that's a little bit more reasonable for him in this field. I mean, Brendan Grace is at 6,800. I think Brendan Grace is a better player, but we won't get to that yet. How about your sleeper this week, Gup?
Did you skip Bucks or did he go?
He hasn't gone yet. I have you listed first.
Come on now. Come on, Bucks. Let's hear it.
I'll go. Listen, real quick. This one I want to talk about real quick. First, Finau.
Yeah.
The dude has not been playing stellar golf. The guy has like a 78% top 25 rate last year. Obviously not playing great his last, 12, 24 events, right? 12, 24 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
He's still top 10 in DK scoring, playing like mediocre garbage.
Okay.
Just saying. And I'm not saying this is not a huge DK scoring event.
Who finishes better this week, Finau or Matsu?
Ooh, Jesus. Oh.
That might be in the – I'll take Matsu.
I thought you were going to take –
I would take Matsuyama there.
Oh, well, shit. Well, then what are you arguing about?
I mean,
I was trying to get a little bit.
I'll take Finau for 100 charity bet over Matsu.
All right, book it. JB, I know you're behind the scenes.
DK points, not finishing position.
No, all we care about is DK points. I'm in.
Okay, all right, perfect. Finau, $100 charity bet. All right, moving on to sleeper. This is a good one, actually. I looked at a lot of these guys. As you mentioned, Gup, this is one of those weeks where you have to be diligent in understanding the Euro guys.
Right.
And I think this is a week where you can find some value down low in some of those.
And that doesn't mean Google top Euro players because you're going to come across the same guys that everybody else is playing. loosen up. I mean, get a little dirty on the year. And we're gonna do some of that guts corner. We're gonna do we're gonna try to put some stuff out, but you don't just do that. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. So I think if you look down low, there's a couple guys that I'm going to name off that I think will be super popular. You got guys like Danny Willett getting talked about a ton. You got Answer, obviously, Mexico homeboy, getting talked about a lot. You have
Boomer.
Jesus.
I gotta say that.
You got Alpha Barnrat getting talked about. You got even Aaron Wise getting talked about a little bit. But you got Bajerigard, you got Aaron Ray getting talked about. And all of those are probably somewhat viable options. But down low, the couple guys that I'm going to look at, I'm not even going to mention Answer, right? I think he's mispriced. I think he's a solid play. But the two guys that I'm going to target is going to be Aaron Ray or Rye down here. He is top 10 on the Euro Tour in scoring. He is 12th in greens and regulation. He is top 30 in scrambling. And so he's just a solid all-around player that I think presents pretty solid value down here. The other guy that I think is interesting, and again, you can't just Google these names because you're not going to find too much out. But if you dig in a little bit, you got Alexander Bjork, who is 41st in the Euro Tour in scoring, but he's top 10 in scrambling. And so this is a guy that's $6,100 that should keep it in play. He's not the greatest off the tee, but should keep it between the tree lines. And he's a guy that's getting up and down 74% of the time. And so you miss a ton of greens, you still have a guy that you can rely on to save strokes there. So those are a couple of the guys that I like.
Gup, how about you?
Yeah, I don't mind him at all. The first guy I have is Sharma, $6,800. Mm-hmm. Probably will be a bet at 200 to 1 or some little piece. He finished 9th here last year. Obviously he's one of the guys. I'll have to go see how his recent form is over where he's been playing because he hadn't played any of the last 6 tournaments here in the PGA. Stat wise though, is right there for 6,800 is well worth what I want to pay. Putt's decent in this scenario. I just like him overall as far as a potential play. The other guy is, which hadn't really, he caught a little fire earlier on this year. Obviously, he was garbage last year after January, but Patton Kizzire, I'll go back there. 6,700, 150 to 1. Finished 12th here last year. He was probably a little bit, better last year than what he has been. He has missed his last 2 cuts, which worries me a little bit, but you'll have to just take good and bad around here when you're looking at recent. I mean, with all these guys under 7,000, which there's not many, especially if you exclude guys that haven't played over here at all before you do your dive in. It'll really, like, I like Appy Bonner. He's a little bit higher in my model, but he's a name that virtually a lot of the people in the industry know. Will it potentially where he's coming in, but we got, our brethren over at Mayo and Feinberg, which I hadn't listened to anything today yet, not one pod, but I assume they'll be talking Willett up pretty high. And if he's going to be a chalky Willett, I don't know if I want to go there, but if he's not, for whatever reason, I definitely don't mind Willett as well. The way he's playing a lot better at this time this year than he was last year. But it's just, you got to pick a few. My advice to most people is to pick, depending on how many lineups you're doing, but a solid selection of them, 2, 3, 3, 4, depending on how many lineups you're doing, and just stack on those and hope one of them hit, other than trying to pick 12 of them that are under 7,000, because you're going to spread yourself out too thin in this type of field. Because the elite, if you look at it, which is obvious being the big field it is, most of the elite are going to hit your top 20. So you're really just looking for someone that's going to score a lot of points, be there Sunday, top 30 or 40 down here to just fill in that squad that you have going.
Yeah, when you say something like that, Gup, I go straight to I go to guys probably I know a little bit more in this range, and I'm going to go straight to Emiliano Grillo at 16. I like Grillo here. He's played it before.
You pronounced it very well. Congratulations.
Grillo.
Us hillbillies, as I've been called, wouldn't pronounce it that way. Probably
called it. Like, I don't understand that, but okay, yeah, but yeah.
Still got tumbleweeds rolling out in front of my house.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
I saw a black bear this morning.
There you
How
go.
about that?
It's called land. Hey, I live by the guy that strangled the freaking the bobcat or whatever, the mountain lion.
I saw that.
The guy lives in my town. Yeah. So yeah, I must be a little different out here too. So
you need to go back to that island.
Yeah, I don't fit in here. You're right. So Grillo though was my pick at 6,900. So we'll move on from that. I've got some head-to-head picks for the week. We'll go quick through this one.
Yes.
We'll start with Bucks on this one, and we'll go to Gup after. So DeChambeau or Koepka?
DeChambeau.
Gup?
DeChambeau was almost my fade. I would probably go Brooks. I assume if most go the way I will and he becomes a little light owned, I'd go Brooks.
There's nobody that's going to understand this elevation better than Bryson.
That's a good point.
That's a fair point.
That's a good point. Okay, I had Bryson as well. Leishman or Cantley? Bucks.
That one's tough.
I think it is really tough. Yeah, I agree.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Leishman.
Got.
Just because Leishman fucked me yesterday, I'm gonna go with Cantley.
Just because Leishman helped me out, then I'll go Leishman.
Who didn't do that yesterday?
Yeah. Well, that's true, but I thought the 2-star was rocking pretty good, and then Adam Scott. I should say Adam Scott did more than Leishman. But yeah.
Alrighty, RCB or Benny on Bucks?
Oh man, I would lean a certain direction, but I am firmly in old Hatchman's fan club with Benny on, so I'm gonna go Benny on here.
Go.
Yeah, RCB. That one's not close for me.
Okay. I think Benny on did, when I look at him, he did everything really not bad actually at Phoenix. So I like him to bounce back here.
That's a heart call for me, by the way. That's not a mind call. That's not a brain call. That's a heart
he
call.
Screwed you at Phoenix.
Yes, that's not even. Yeah.
I thought this one was a little close too. Hatton or Cam Smith?
Not even close. Cam Smith. Hatton can suck it.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Hatton on the other side. I like Hatton a lot.
I like Hatton as well.
I'm expecting him to be chalky. That's why he's on my list a little bit later, but he's a guy that I expect to be, but if he's not, I'll jump on him, especially here. He seems to like these greens. I can't stand him overall, but top 10 both years, I'll take him at 7,300.
Yeah, I think he was top 5 both years.
Mm-hmm.
Barn Rat or Willett? This is the lowest one.
I'm gonna go Barn Rat just for his scoring propensity.
Got
Barn Rat.
I'll probably go Barn Rat as well on that one. All righty, let's go around and pick 2 or 3 guys that we didn't mention that you want to talk about. Gup, go first.
Yeah, so Brooks is one of them, and I kind of remind everybody that this is the time of not only has he not played, but he's the one guy over the last year that I've tracked that his stats almost mean absolutely nothing. It really determines if he gives a flip or not because his talent is as good as anybody on the tour when he's on. This could be an event that he shows up and wins. He could win easily top 5, or you can't miss cut, but he could finish 40th as well. So it's a risk play. If you're going to give me him under 10%, I'll have him at least equal a little above. But he's a guy that I'll talk about more Wednesday when we get into some of the details and kind of looking at stuff. Another guy is Stinson for me. I don't think anybody's really mentioned him yet. He had the epic withdrawal in 2017 when half the world was on him in DraftKings. I really like him kind of at the number. Stat-wise, he's my number 2 ranked overall. He obviously, I'll go see how he's played recently. He's one of the guys that I'll earmark. All he has is the withdrawal here after, I don't know what it was, 9, 10, 11 holes. He started birdie, and then I know he went, 4 or 5 bogeys or doubles, and he withdraws. So I'm not putting a lot into it, but it happened.
His recent form is garbage. There's got to be something wrong there because
Maybe an injury or something, right?
He's got a perfect mold for a course like this, for like Pebble. I don't know what's going on with it, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, so he's one that is worth to me to dig into because the price, $7,200 seems egregious in a bucks. I like to use that once a week for bucks. But I don't know if I'm gonna use him, but he's one of the 2 or 3 guys that I want to pay attention to. And then the last one was kind of a tie. We kind of just mentioned Hatton a little bit, but so I'll go Garcia. Quietly made the cut, really kind of dodged the whole media BS. He's finished T12 and T7 out here the only 2 years it's been here. T37 last week. Kind of anybody that pulls stats, which they won't really remember, you're pulling baby, post baby stats, and so he's not going to pop on models like he probably would have if he pulled a year ago today. And roll into Augusta, per se. So I think he's on the upward trend. And so at 8,000, I definitely will have him on my radar and probably have some shares of him.
Bucks, how about you?
Yeah, so I got actually 4 guys I'm going to mention real quick. Number 1 is going to be Tiger. Because he's Tiger. And he's been hitting the ball off the tee so much better. I mean, so much better. Last year when we came into the year, that was our main concern. He is hot fire with his irons, especially his short irons. Been driving the ball great, putting pretty well. Short game is phenomenal. Love Tiger this week. Next guy that
I just don't talk about him so he doesn't pop up on Fanshare and the buzz and
buzz.
Which they have great tools, but I try to keep Tiger off those tools right now.
I hear you. Well, we have to mention. Well, I'm going to mention him. The next guy, and I don't think anybody mentioned him, but I think he's a perfect fit for this kind of golf course, is Francisco Molinari. Really like him this week. He does score. He is not your prototypical DK scorer, but we saw how good he could be last year, and I think this is a course that suits his game perfectly. Next guy,
he just hasn't played though, has he? Like, when's the last time Molinari played?
No, not much at all. He's played at Euro events, that kind of thing, but not.
I didn't even think he played the Euro events.
A couple here and there, nothing.
Okay,
not like 6 straight events like Kuchar or anything.
Right.
Hao Tong Lee, love that guy this week. Really, really solid overall. And then my last guy is going to be Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley is a guy that drives the ball so well every single week, and I think that keeps him in play here. I'm not sure I can roster him and turn the TV on a Sunday, but I mean, it can't be any worse than the last couple weeks for us. Oh, it's going to be worse than Hadwin blowing up, Benny Ond at the Waste Management. I mean,
Bradley blew up just as bad. He made a little.
Bradley blew up.
I had both, so I shared equally in Hadwin and Bradley. Going into the weekend, I was looking pretty decent. And then within 4 holes, they were like 27 over. So it was brutal.
Well, he's got 4 rounds here, and he's actually last 24 rounds 3rd in DK scoring. So something to look at. And we did not mention him.
Stat wise, he
popped off for sure.
Great. It just
can't watch him.
Yeah, no, not at all.
He's the anti-shot tracker.
Yeah.
Ruvy, who do you got?
The first guy I want to mention is I know that we had talked about him because he has a sweet hairdo on DraftKings, but Tom Lewis. Um, he has 2 top tens in his last 3 events over in the Europe, and it was the two they weren't scrub events. I think one of them was the HSBC Abu Dhabi, and then the other one was the one that the Saudi Arabia one. He got 3rd there, and I looked it up. He got as many birdies as DJ there. DJ beat him by 3 strokes. DJ got 1 eagle. He got 0 eagles. I think he's not the longest player, but I'll probably dive into him more. But I do like Tom Lewis at 7,000. Yeah, sweet hair on DraftKings for sure. Last guy I wanted to mention was Phil Mickelson. The defending champion.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll play Phil this week. I think Phil is
his 600th start on tour this week.
Yeah, he's got a great history here. I think there's 4 players that I remember as back-to-back, or every year they've been in the top 5. JT, DJ, Hatton, and Phil is one of them. So he should fit here well. And if he goes under-owned, but he looked tired at the end of the Genesis, and that just scares me a little. So Phil was the other one I wanted to mention. So, all right, let's get into the betting strategy for the week. I get 5 dimes and Bovada. We usually clarify which one they're coming from, but the favorite of the week. So 40 to 1 or shorter. Bucks, who do you like? Anybody? Do you like anybody there?
Yeah, yes, I like a lot. I like Webb Simpson at 33. I like Woodland at 33. I really like Rahm this week. And a guy we haven't mentioned is Ricky. I love Ricky this week too. But Rahm would be my pick to win. And so if you feel that strongly about him, 14 to 1 is not great, but you got to make your stand. So
how about you, Gup?
Yeah, Ricky was on the list for me as far as kind of under the radar. He hasn't played great here, and so his price at that potential, he did, he's had a little break, but he could be on the list. But the hard part here is if you look at historically, the winner's probably going to come, and I know it's only 2 years, but up top somewhere. And so this is a rare week where I may go heavy unit wise on a guy up top, like a DJ or a Rory, and not have much other than that, and maybe catch a live bet if I really like it. The other guys, I could easily start with Brooks or Tiger. Tiger's 23 to 1 on 5 dimes. Again, I haven't checked lately, so if it's changed a lot, then I wouldn't know that. But I definitely don't mind him at 23. I don't mind Matsu at 30. If I'm going to take 3 or 4 from this middle range and just kind of leave it at that and move on, then those are guys that I'd be on. Garcia back at 40 again is another guy. But the one guy I think I will bet and haven't locked it in yet, but will prior to the show, is Fleetwood at 40 is the one guy I do like, right on the number.
I liked Hideki at 33. And I'm interested in the Cantley at 33, which it's not very smart. But my only thought on Ricky was he doesn't win very often. Obviously, that's been talked about enough. I don't really need to rehash that. But he did just win. But I don't see a guy like Ricky winning back-to-back. And that's just me thinking, and that has no correlation, probably has no meaning. But he could. But
no, it's valid. I think it's really valid. It's super rare.
Yeah, and at 16 to 1, I don't think JT would. I think JT can win back to back. I think DJ can win back to back. I think Koepka can. I struggle putting Ricky in that category.
Yeah.
All right. Now the next category would be 45 to 75. Bucks, what do you like?
I do like Cam Smith this week. I already mentioned one of my favorite plays. Well, two guys that I really like. I just give one, CH3. I really like him this week. I think I'm seeing 50 to 1 is
55 on Bovada. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's solid value for him.
Gup, how about you?
Yeah. RCB at 50, Hatton at 50 are both that intrigue me. If I decide that Stinson's too much risk at DK, he could definitely be a play at 66 and just ignore the whole DraftKings deal because I think that's good value for his talent. Right on the number again, a guy that I'll probably bet and may lock it in tonight, which I release on the Slack channel if I lock in early, is Horschel right at 75. So Fleetwood and Horschel kind of popped for me early, and those are two guys that I think have great value.
I'm seeing Cam Smith and Hatton at 66 on Bovada, so I like both of those. They're both right next to each other. Actually, when I look back at my rankings, they're right next to each other. So both of them, but I usually tail yours too as well, Gup. So in Gup, I trust there. So the next one, 80 to 120. Anything you're seeing there, Bucks?
No.
Gup. That was easy.
Your Bucks kind of mentioned him earlier, and the value for him is there. I doubt I would pull a trigger right now, but Keegan at 100 because 100 is a huge number. But in this kind of field, he definitely could hit it. I would maybe go there, but outside of that, not really.
I might get sucked into the Griot at 100, but haven't done it yet, so I'm holding strong. All right, how about above that? So Bucks.
Yeah, I would have two here. So I would have Answer at what I'm seeing 125. I think that's solid value there for a guy that's obviously super motivated to win and got close last year. And then a guy that I liken this guy as a poor man's Xander. And that would be Aaron Wise. He can just go bananas at any given moment and start playing really, really well. And I'm not saying it's this week, but at 150 to 1, there's not too many guys down here that you can say can play well enough when they get hot to really contend with the big guys. And I think he has the scoring talent to do that. So Aaron Wise at 150.
And how about you, Gup?
Yeah, one guy that kind of pops off, I kind of mentioned him earlier. Shamara will be one at 200. That's definitely worth like a small each way. Kazire's one I like at 150 to 1. These are all 5 dimes.
Same on Bovada.
Yes, potentially, Affy Barnrat could be a play at 150, especially if I see him as potential more chalky than I like on DraftKings. I don't mind taking him in that route, but I don't really believe in him that much. I do like Answer, and on 5 dimes he was 150.
125 on Bovada, yeah.
Yeah, so one little value there on buy times, maybe if he's still there. So he's a guy I kind of like there, but Shamara and Kazira would be the two right now that I'd like as bombs.
I don't have anybody down there because I don't have an odds on Lewis on Bovada. Do you have Lewis at all, Gup, on 5 dimes?
I do. What, Tom?
Yeah, Tom Lewis.
No, nothing yet.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, 90 to 1.
Oh, well, okay, that's not very good value. So, yeah, never mind that on that one. I don't have him on Bovada, so I'm not sure where he's at. But I think that this is a week that – I know we've discussed it before when we're chatting with each other, but I think top 20 bets here, there's some good value on some top 20 bets. If you want to get in there, I know Bovada has Sergio at top 20 at plus 130. He's finished top 15 the last 2 years here. Yeah, and then sure. Hatton is at plus 170 on Bovada. He's been top 5 back-to-back years. So,
yeah, I don't. Right, and so I don't do a lot of that.
Yeah,
but a week. I remember last year. I believe
only 70 guys. Yeah.
No, well, and I think it was Memphis, or I don't remember where it was last year with DJ, and it was one of the rare weeks where I put almost a full unit on one guy, and it was DJ. It was DJ.
Yeah, it was the week before the U.S. Open, right?
Yeah, and he won. And I don't do that a lot, but this is a week where it's hard because there's so much elite talent there that it's like, who do you pick the one? Because you think one of these top 10 or 15 are probably going to win. So you really don't want to waste dollars on these long shots. But to your point, if you can get a lot of good top 20 values on 2 or 3 and go that route and just take 2 or 3 of these guys up top, sprinkle out ownership, bankroll management on them, and that's it. I could go Bradley, Fleetwood, and then pick, maybe Tiger or Brooks and that really be about it. And then some of these longer shots, throw some top 10 or top 20. Certainly if you have the each ways out there, those are the best things. Us in the US don't have that yet, but it's not a bad strategy this week. You don't have to reach for a bunch of long shots this week because it's just not historically shown that that's who's going to win out here with this much elite talent out there. And it'll be a light betting week and more of just, MME, sprinkle out, go all in on DK, have fun, and let's get to some real, full-fledged field single course golf next week. So that's how I'm approaching it. I enjoy that. Like I started the podcast with, I enjoy this tournament watching it. I enjoyed it a lot last year, and I didn't have much of JT or Phil, but it was a tremendous ending and a lot of entertainment. And the worrisome here is who's going to withdraw from drinking the water or something like that. So it gets kind of crazy there at the last, paying attention. But overall, I like the tournament, but certainly looking forward to next week.
Awesome. That's a good transition because Phil was the only one I got right last year in the one and done. So let's get into the one and done. The standings right now, Bucks, you had a good week with JT at 1.19, Gup 2.93. I am sitting at the bottom now at 1.05. This is my worst of the 3, which upsets me greatly. But no, I'm so who are you looking at this week, Bucks? Who are you taking?
I am taking Ricky Fowler.
Gut.
This is a coin flip between my number 1, number 2, which are both doing pretty decent right now. But I'm going to burn DJ. I think he's been hanging around, flirting around long enough. And outside of recent form, which for him, quote unquote, has been terrible, he would be number 1 in my model by far. For the Twitter guy, I think that's only 4 times I've said my model, so he can't be too drunk tonight. So I love DJ this week. I think he wins. I will have Fleetwood as a one and done as well, and I obviously have more than one, but I think Fleetwood could actually win this thing this week. I think he's going to turn in, and I may see where his Augusta odds are. I've kind of been avoiding his chalkiness, but I think this is the time of year where he kind of picks it up. I see a top 5 for him. I'll be overweight on him, and I love him a lot this week as well.
For the purposes of this one, I will be using Hideki Matsuyama. My other 2 are up there. I've got 2 in the top 55, so I'm waiting to see on those, but I really like DJ and JT. I still have them both available on those. So, or Rory as well. So I might dip into the Rory pool this week as well. So one of those 3.
And I will say, and I know JB's listening, if he can chime in my ear set and tell me when the first segment ends, this is a time that all right, so you got 2 weeks left, this and the Honda. And so if you're out or virtually impossible to get in there, this is a strategy time, right? So you don't want to burn a DJ, a JT, or something like that if you're out of it. You'd rather use them later on. Obviously, this week I'm using DJ, which I kind of didn't preference. It was this is a big pot. I think 1.7 last year. Ruvy, you may have the current number, but
yeah, it's close to majors. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's close to majors. So I certainly don't mind in a small field. So there's also the argument that it's an elite field, but a smaller field. Bigger payouts up top, I'll take him. But if you're not in, and I'm in it, so I'm still have a chance to in the first segment. I got to hold off my wife first, but outside of that, I'm in it, and so I may take a chance with this one team. My other, like Fleetwood, to me, he's 8,200, which I'm just correlating there, but I don't mind using him here. And then my third one will be just a complete dart, maybe RCB or something like that. But strategy-wise, and we talk about this a lot in the Slack right now, is like if you're out, you want to save your bullets for the second segment or third segment or something like that, because your game has changed now that you're done. You can still come back on the overall, but you don't want to blow it in the first segment when there's already enough guys up there. So that's that's something to think about this week as well with 2 weeks left, as JB said. So WGC and Honda, and that's it. So think about that as you're picking your one and done this week.
Yeah, that was my thinking with taking Matsuyama, because I don't think I'd use him in a major. Now, I think this is a big enough tournament that 1.7 million gets me back into it. I'm only at $1 million. But, like, I know I'm not going to win the first segment, even if I go back-to-back and hit Matsuyama this week and say I hit
certainly
Luke List next week or something like that. But, like, that's my thinking on Matsuyama because it is a WGC.
Yep.
So, all righty. I do have a couple of questions from the listeners that I wrote down. And I think this is something that Bucks, with the course preview, you can answer this one. Will the big hitters club down?
Some will, yeah. I mean, if you look at last year, you saw a bunch of driving irons, but you also saw guys like DJ play pretty aggressive and just take their chances with the rough. Same with Phil. But yeah, absolutely. There are so many holes out here where you cannot miss it more than like 10 yards off the fairway that they'll absolutely club down to have a comfortable yardage into these greens.
The next question that I wrote down, and Gup, you can answer this one. With your past experience, will it lead you to play heavier or lighter this week? I think that they're probably referring to the no-cut events on DraftKings.
Yeah. I caution to say this. I strongly recommend, and I do this every week, is to self-grade yourself. I historically do well in these events. So myself, I will be equal or more than what I normally kind of do when I'm looking at, go back to the betting contest selection pods we did. In my little bubble, these 7-week bubbles, this one's graded higher for me right now just because I do better at them for whatever reason. If there's tournaments I don't, then I scale back to offset this. But me personally, I would. But if you struggle in something like this, or you go back and pull some of these events, and if you're on DraftKings and probably any of the others, you can pull your entire contest history and sort it out and figure it. Don't feel like you have to press this week by any means. Just go light, have fun, and enjoy it. For 18 months now, these have been a lot stronger ROIs for me, so I'll be on it.
Awesome. Thanks. Those are the only ones I had. Reminders for everybody that we will have the Wednesday night chat for all premium members. We do the Wednesday night chat as well as the Slack chat, but the Wednesday night we can post the transcript. So get in there Wednesday night. It's really kicking. It's awesome. So that'll be at 9:00 Eastern Wednesday night on the website. So like I said, you have to be a member to join that, but it's really easy. Click, easy. Come on in. Also, the price for life deal. We've said it before, but you also get an offer to Blue Jack National. Play with Gut, Bucks, and Moose. Play with them at Blue Jack National if you sign up right now for a year. Clarify that one for me, guys. What's the sign up on that one?
A year or 2 years, yep.
A year or 2 years. Yep. Thank you. You'll be entered into a draw to play one of the best courses in the country. I'm super jealous. So, but apparently I was on my private island last week, according to Bucks. So
yes,
2 year gets you 2 entries. 1 year gets you 1 entry into it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks. So I think it's a great deal. I think the Slack chats have been fire. We have more than just golf Slack chats. There's like a soccer Slack chat in there. I know you guys don't care about soccer, but like I've been in that.
It's been nuts, man. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, we've been live for 2.5 weeks or so, 2 weeks, and we've had over 26,000 messages in Slack. It's been nuts.
It's been great. I agree. So, but if you have any questions, shoot us a DM or anything like that. We'll answer them if you don't feel like having those out in the public. So that's all we have for today. Unless you guys have anything else, how are you feeling about it?
No, just to remind people that, the deal is through the Masters. A lot of people reach out after we kind of made the announcement last week that when you sign up now, you're locked in at that price. So if you want to do the monthly, you're $6.99 for life. If you want to do the annual, you're $69 for life. If you want to do the 2 year, you have the option. It doesn't auto renew on the 2 year just because of the way it's set up, but you have the ability to renew whenever you want before it cancels. It will remind you. you can literally go in there and buy 5 sets of 2 years right now if you really wanted to. If you believe us that much, it's totally up to you. So you can do that at your leisure for $129. The price is April 15th will go to $14.99 a month and $119.99 a year. 2 year will not be offered no more. The last day you'll ever be able to get the 2 year is Sunday at Augusta. It will never be offered again at Gups Corner. So, take advantage if you want to. It's the cheapest deal price you'll ever get from us. The Slack has been amazing. I think a lot of people don't realize that, we have 500 plus in there active. We have horsing, MMA, boxing, NASCAR, soccer, all kinds of channels that if you're into that kind of stuff, we're putting it up there for people to get into and enjoy it. And it doesn't even have to be us in there, we're all in there throughout the day, but it's been crazy to see the involvement from the community and helping each other out. You never know when a special deal is going to come about just for the community. There's been 2 or 3 already in 2 weeks that if you're in there, you get access to an amazing one. I won't mention what they exactly are because that's kind of private to the community. But there was one announced last night that I can guarantee you, depending on how you take advantage of it, you would save more through that deal than you will paying for the membership for a year at Gups Corner. So it's awesome. And it's not only from us. We have people in the community that throw things out there that we didn't know would be there. So it's great to be there. The pod's not going to change. I have a lot of people asking about that. We're going to deliver like we always have. That's our core. But what you gain from Monday afterwards until Wednesday nights, invaluable. And you can ask anybody in the community about it. You don't have to take our word for it. Exceeded our expectations. We appreciate it. To what Ruvy said. So one more time, just kind of on Sunday night, we're all going to go live, same YouTube channel with our post recap of the Masters, Augusta live, probably 30 minutes to an hour after it ends. JB and I will get together probably about right before the back 9 starts. We will gather so everybody that signs up has an ID number. It's 1 through whatever the number is. And we'll send it out in an email so you know what your number is. Mrs. Gup is going to come in here. We'll have every single number. And then if they're a 2 year, their number will be in there twice. And she'll literally draw one number out live on YouTube. And I'll look at the screen, or JB's in the background. You guys don't see him often, but I'll tell him number 158, and he's going to tell us who it is, and that's who wins. So it'll be live on TV, on YouTube. It'll be exciting. If you happen to get drawn and can't make it, which I can't imagine how, but if you are in the drawing, make plans now to be free that last weekend of April. It's the Zurich Classic, so it's the team event on the PGA, which is why we picked that week. Kind of less content for us. DK doesn't really do anything, so free up now just in case you get drawn. But if you can't make it for whatever reason, we'll take care of you. We'll get you something, and we'll move to the next guy that gets drawn. Once we figure out you couldn't make it, so don't stress too much about it. But if you're in there, free up that weekend. It's a pretty awesome event, and to have Moose, who's a good partner of ours, flying in, going to pay for the flight for the guy that wins it as well. It's going to be a great weekend and great exposure for that person. That's all I have. Wednesday night, join us. Ruvy, anything else?
No, just remember to hit that like button and leave a review for us, everybody. That'd be awesome. But thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Good night.
SmashFactor.